If you're thinking about buying some brakes for your enduro rig, the SRAM Code-R might be the first you come across because they are, if not the most, they're close to the most economical brakes on the market. But are they really any good? So I've been running these brakes on my Transition Spire for about 2 years now, and I'm going to do my best to give an honest review of basically the overall performance, the purpose, and the product positioning for the SRAM Code-R brakes. So we'll go through my experience and thoughts on the product positioning, the build, the performance, and the pros and cons. With brakes ranging in price from $100 to $400, the coolest thing I'll say about the SRAM Code-Rs is that they truly are an affordable option for legitimate performance enduro mountain bike brakes. As a complete system, these brakes provide ample stopping power, and they don't seem to be overly susceptible to brake fade in my experience, and they're generally quite reliable. These are all huge pros in my opinion, especially considering the overall price. Now, of course, when you have a budget option, you're definitely going to find shortcuts in the production and the properties and the features that are taken out in order to reduce the cost. The main things I would highlight with the SRAM Code-Rs would be the brake lever material and the lack of bite adjustment. I definitely think you can feel the overall quality of the lever feel on higher end brakes, and that being said, never once riding am I really thinking about this. You know, there are plenty of other things to think about. It's only while playing around with bikes in the shop or sitting at the trailhead and, you know, squeezing the levers like that. So we're talking about it lacking bite point adjustment. What actually is bite point adjustment? The SRAM Code-Rs, you can adjust the lever positioning, which basically is where the lever sits at the resting point. A bite point adjustment is going to adjust how far you have to squeeze the lever in order to actually engage with the disc brakes. I don't know how that works from a mechanical perspective inside the actual brake, but I believe when you're twisting the knob on the SRAM Code-R SCs or higher end brakes, you're actually adjusting the master cylinder inside the brake so that you don't have to squeeze as much. So it does not change the brake lever positioning at all at resting point. It just changes the stroke. So the stroke, the amount that you actually have to pull from the resting point to where it's actually biting. The reason that you'd want potentially more of this is that you can have an ability to kind of feather the brakes before it's actually biting. On the SRAM Code-R, as I mentioned, you only have brake lever positioning adjustment, so you can't adjust that bite point. It's kind of set and does it automatically based on the resting point of the pistons. Now, what do I really think about these brakes after about 2 years of riding with them? The pros would be the cost and simplicity of the design. There's less to break when things are made more simply. The cheaper materials can often be heavier, but then they're more durable, so you kind of have some pros and cons in that regard as well. The lever squeeze, I know if you're going up in SRAM to Code-R SCs, there are more basically mechanical features to the brake levers that will give you a more gradual feel with the brake and allow you to feather it more than the SRAM Code-R. It's kind of into the weeds to get further into that right now, but essentially a higher end brake, you're going to have a better lever feel and ability to actually feather the brake as opposed to the Code-Rs. Now, again, there's more pieces, it's more mechanically complex, so it might be more susceptible to breaking with something like that. But as I mentioned, the pros would be the simplicity. Negatives is the lack of complexity, so kind of the lack of features. You don't have that bite point adjustment, you don't have as good of lever feel, and then you also don't have as high-end components, so you do have an aluminum rather than a forged aluminum lever, and some actually higher end will have titanium or carbon levers. In this particular case, I do think the biggest thing is that lack of bite point adjustment is the biggest feature that you can point to specifically. In my case, I actually really enjoy the standard bite point that is on the SRAM Code-R, so I don't need to adjust that, or I don't feel the need to adjust that. Now, obviously, if I did have that, maybe I'd play around on different trails I'd want a different bite point, things like that. But at this point, I don't feel like that's a huge drawback to me, especially considering the price. It's just something that would not be in this type of product, in this type of position. Things I've noticed, I have had to lubricate the pistons when I've done brake bleeds in order to get them back out. When your brake pads get very thin, the pistons are squeezing in further, and then when you put new brake pads, you need that to spread, but sometimes they get a little sticky, so I've needed to lubricate those and then spread the pistons out. I have not had to make many adjustments other than that, just replacing pads anytime I need to, and they've been super reliable. I've never had a failure, I've never had brake fade or anything like that. Overall, I definitely feel like they're the best brakes on the market for the price. So if you're looking for an entry-level brake on your enduro rig, or you're trying to upgrade, if you had 2-piston brakes or something, you're trying to get into a 4-piston brake, I think SRAM Code-R is a great option. You're not breaking the bank there, but you are getting something that's fully performance-wise able to take you out on, you know, really steep, really gnarly trails on a bigger bike like an enduro bike, and still provide enough stopping power, and I would say sensitivity for you to modulate brakes on steep terrain or on something that's slippery, or, you know, rock faces, things where you really can't just lock down on the brakes, but you do need braking power when you need it. So overall, I definitely would recommend them to someone looking for brakes. It's just a matter of, if you have $400 to spend, maybe you're going to go and spend $400 on brakes instead of $125. It all comes down to how much you want to spend, how much you can spend, and what your budget is, what type of bike you're putting brakes on. But if you're looking for entry-level brakes on an enduro bike, this is a great option for you. And hopefully now you understand what you're getting if you spend more, but what you're also getting with the SRAM Code-Rs as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas or suggestions on things you'd like me to talk about, or any video suggestions, let me know in the comments. And then please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys. Catch you on the trails.